Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas using the original source material. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating story about a rebel technology, a tech giant, and what happens when an online revolution gets invited to the big party.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Back in 2023, the tech world was buzzing. Meta, the company behind Facebook and Instagram, announced that its new platform, Threads, was going to join the Fediverse. Now, for those of you who might not know, the Fediverse is this dream of a decentralized social web. It's a bunch of independent platforms all talking to each other through an open protocol called ActivityPub. The whole idea is freedom from big corporate control. So yeah, this felt huge.
On paper, this was a massive win for a more open, interconnected internet. But the reality? It kind of fell flat. The whole thing just felt anemic. There's no big explosion of creativity, no exciting merger of these two worlds. The vibrant, open ecosystem everyone hoped for just didn't happen. And it left a lot of us scratching our heads and asking, what went wrong here?
To figure this out, we've got to go back, way back. We need to understand the rebellious soul of this protocol, because ActivityPub wasn't cooked up in some corporate lab. Oh no, it was born on the barricades of the open web.
The paper we're pulling from calls the original ActivityPub an insurgent infrastructure. I love that term. Think of it as a tool built for a rebellion. It was created by a movement of people who were fed up with the walled gardens of big tech. They wanted a social web where communities, not corporations, were in charge.
And these rebel systems, they have a very specific DNA. They're super high on generativity, which means just tons of creative, messy, chaotic experimentation. They've got high autonomy support. They put small communities in the driver's seat. They have huge movement value. They're a symbol for their political goals. And here's the kicker. They have low institutional legibility, which is a fancy way of saying they're a total mess for big, orderly companies to try and understand. And that right there, that's the fundamental clash of worlds we're talking about. On one side, you have the wild, creative, political energy of this insurgent project. And on the other, you have the orderly, predictable, and clean needs of an institution. This tension is the engine that drives our entire story.
Okay, so you've got this rebel protocol. What happens when it finally lands on the radar of the official rule makers of the web, the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C? Well, this is where the taming begins.
The paper calls this process a kind of counterinsurgency. And think about that for a second. The goal wasn't to destroy ActivityPub. It was to absorb it, to normalize it, and in the process, to basically neutralize its rebellious spirit, to make it safe for the status quo. And this taming happens in 4 pretty clear steps. First up, recognition. The powers that be see the rebel tech and say, okay, this is important. Next, translation. The movement's big political vision gets boiled down and reframed as just a set of neat technical problems. Third, stabilization. A formal standard gets published, which kind of freezes the protocol in place. And finally, deployment. Corporations now feel safe enough to adopt the new tamed version. And this is maybe the most important part of the whole story. You have to ask, what gets lost in that translation step? Well, all the messy, complicated, human stuff. Things like community governance, how to handle moderation, the very power dynamics the movement was trying to fix, all of that was declared out of scope. It was just easier to set it aside to create a clean technical standard. So this whole taming process, this domestication, is what made ActivityPub suddenly look safe and attractive to a huge company like Meta. But, and this is a huge but, it also created this hidden trap, a really deep and fascinating paradox. And here it is. The heart of the mystery, what the paper calls the domestication paradox. The very process that makes a technology safe for big companies to adopt is the same process that destroys the social and cultural energy that made it valuable in the first place. It accidentally strips out its soul. And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. The original, insurgent protocol, it had massive value for its movement, even if corporations couldn't make sense of it. But after domestication, look what happens. The value to the movement just tanks. But the crazy part is, its value to corporations doesn't really go up either. It ends up being less valuable for pretty much everyone.
So here's the answer to our question. Meta adopted the technical blueprint, the engine, but the passionate community it hoped to find, the fuel, was either gone or had put up its walls. Threads plugged into this standardized protocol, but the living, breathing ecosystem it was meant to connect with now saw that protocol and Meta with a whole lot of suspicion.
So where does this all end up? After all this taming and domestication, the protocol lands in its final resting place. And the name the paper gives it is, well, it's pretty stark.
It's called an infrastructural dead zone. Now, a dead zone isn't empty. The protocol still works, data can still flow. It's like the lights are on, but nobody's home. It's standardized, it's maintained, but the innovation, the community energy, the passion, it's all gone. It's basically a ghost of the revolution it once promised.
And there you have it. The puzzle is solved. The reason Thread's big move felt so empty is that it wasn't connecting to a living, breathing movement. It was connecting to a dead zone. The protocol had been successfully turned from a wild, insurgent project into a stable, predictable, and ultimately inert piece of infrastructure. A technical success, maybe, but a total cultural failure.
Which brings us to this fundamental dilemma that any grassroots movement faces. And the source material just nails it with this quote. It's about the tension between the desire to be recognized and the need to remain partially illegible in order to stay alive.
And that's where we'll leave it. The story of ActivityPub isn't just about code, right? It's a cautionary tale, and it leaves us with this really critical question for the future of the internet and for any movement that dares to challenge the way things are. Can a rebel project ever go mainstream without losing its soul?